Hey, so I'm finally back after doing that thing where I make a new video that disappeared for 2 weeks, but I am pretty excited for this one because while I work on new MCU 10 years minifigures and gear up for the next Clone Wars showcase, I figure what better time than right now as we move toward the end of 2018 than to do the top 10 worst custom minifigures I have ever made. Now, I wasn't so satisfied with the list I compiled for the top 10 best minifigures I've ever made, so I'll probably wind up redoing that video sometime next year, but I'm really satisfied with this one. I don't think I would change anything on this list. Who knows, maybe I'll actually wind up wanting to do so after like a day or two of this being up. Regardless, I'm not going to be going any further back than 2014 though, with a few exceptions toward the end, which I think are hilarious, because I don't really think it would make sense to include the really ancient customs, where in 2009 I was Sharpieing clones and putting globs of whiteout on them. That was back when I was just starting out, and I don't really think it makes sense to include those like really early foundational custom figures that I was doing as a kid. So without further ado though, let's get started. Number 10, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars Rebels, a figure that barely even made this list because I still really do like it. It's just the face, which was inspired by Lego's Shock T that they made a long time ago, and they basically extended her head up onto the actual like Montrals and Leku piece, and it didn't look right. And then me in 2015 just didn't think it through and just tried to copy that same idea, and it just looks ridiculous. The eyes are also way too far apart. The mouth is way too weird looking. I cannot believe just how much the face alone almost ruins this figure for me, because I still really do love all the different dark blue designs that I painted on to the best of my ability back in 2015. I still think they all really do look incredible. I mean, the arms, the torso, the legs, everything still looks really great. Today I'd probably add more 3D and fabric elements, but this was not a bad minifigure. It's just that poorly painted face and that poor decision making of trying to extend it up onto the actual head tails piece. It just doesn't look right, especially when compared to my most recent Ahsoka that I just finished making. Number 9, Ultron Prime, or at least I think it was Ultron Prime. I don't actually remember. This was the first version I made of him for the release of the movie back in 2015, and yeah, this was not good. I mean, the paintwork was good on the head, the eyes, the arms, the legs. All the paintwork itself, I think, still holds up for the most part, even though the torso piece that I eventually tried to add later on kind of damaged the arms a little bit. It wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't consistent with the printed torso, which now, thanks to the Toy Story arms and legs that I use, which in hindsight, yep, they're pretty ridiculous. After having not used them for 2 years, yeah, they're pretty bad and make the normal minifigure torso look way too small. And even though a few months later I did try to add that custom cast torso armor piece from Breakthrough to remedy that, it still didn't work. Even though it made the figure look consistent paint wise, it was not good, man. Dialing it back a year though to 2014 with the Arbiter from the Master Chief collection. Again, with the damn hoodie arms and legs. Listen, the elites are tall. You know, they're 7 foot. I think they're like 7'5" or something. They're really tall, but this just, again, it just doesn't look right, and it really did no service to the Arbiter here, especially with the legs. I definitely should have done something more along the lines of what my buddy Dylan over the Minifigs did for his Arbiter, and actually making screen-accurate legs for the Sangheili here, but I guess in 2014 I just didn't really mind and just went with this anyway, ignoring all those facts. And then the sculpted head that kind of extends onto the back, I mean, while it was a really nice effort and is painted well, again, I think that's a recurring theme that you'll see all throughout this video. I was never really particularly bad at painting torsos and legs after I think maybe 2013 or 2014. I mean, at least I don't think I was, and so the paintwork again is there. It's just the damn woody arms and legs, that really puffy looking sculpt for the head. That is the puffiest looking Sangheili I've ever seen in my life, but at least the paintwork I did on the prototype plasma rifle for my buddy X39 Brick Customs looks okay, so at least again the paintwork still holds up. It's just the woody arms and legs and the sculpt for the head and the back that look ridiculous. Number 7, the most recent minifigure in this video, Logan from February 2017. Yep, this one was a good try. I painted a couple decent torsos for him. I even made a really nice jacket, both of which I still do think hold up, but the head just doesn't look like Hugh Jackman, man. The eyes are too close together, the eyebrows are too small, the mouth is the wrong shape and too far down, the sculpted beard doesn't really look too consistent with the hairpiece, which is also kind of what led to eventually slowing down on the sculpted beards, by the way. And on top of that, this was thankfully the last time that I painted that Death Star Trooper leg design, because I eventually realized that the knee areas were actually pockets and did not make any sense, especially for Logan. I don't even think he was wearing these pants anymore by the time he had this jacket on toward the end of the movie. But to really top it all off, the claws. Oh my god, again, good try. I carved out the individual claws from rubber, glued them in place, and then I kind of realized, oh yeah, these are a little too short and stubby looking and not Wolverine claws. They look like cat claws. And I mean, I knew it. I just kind of went on and showcased the figure anyway as it was because I just didn't really want to go back to change them. And yeah, and I mean, while the sculpted transition from the hands to the claws looked pretty cool, the stubbiness of those claws and the leg design just really made this figure pretty bad. Number 6, going to Black Widow from the Winter Soldier, and to be honest, I think this figure's still okay, relatively simple, not a lot of detail or really anything too exciting at all. However, it wasn't a terrible paint job by any stretch. Like I've said with previous figures, it was just the face. I don't know what I was thinking or how I thought on any earth that resembled Scarlett Johansson. I don't know what this is, but it was so bad, I didn't even keep track of it, and I swapped out the head like a year or two ago with the same one that I've used for more recent Black Widow figures, so I couldn't even tell you where the original head is. It was just so bad, I couldn't care less, and I don't even know what to say. I mean, look at those eyes and the mouth. I just don't know what younger me was thinking 4.5 years ago. Number 5, a year later, it only got worse for Black Widow from Age of Ultron this time, and again, the rest of the figure, aside from the face, was really great, and I think the paintwork still holds up. It's just the face. I mean, this time it doesn't just look like a mashed up painted face. It looks like she had plastic surgery a few too many times. I don't know whose face this is, but it's not Scarlett Johansson's, and it just looks hilarious. I mean, again, rest of the figure, the batons are kind of weird, but the rest of the figure I still think is fine. It's just the face. I'm so glad that eventually I accepted that there are much better printed options available that do resemble Scarlett Johansson's likeness a lot better than whatever it is I was trying to go for in 2014 and 15. God, look at that. Number 4, fast forwarding a year now into 2016 for Colossus from Deadpool 2, again with the damn Woody arms and legs from Toy Story. I was trying to make him appear taller, of course, because Colossus is an incredibly tall guy. He's also incredibly bulky, and so I tried to make up for that by sculpting onto the front of the torso and the belt. It honestly just threw the whole look of the figure off even more. The sculpt itself, if you can even call it that, on both sides had really uneven engravings done into it. It just looked really ridiculous. On top of that, back then I really didn't make any effort to sculpt on any decent muscle definition. I mean, it was just literally layers upon layers because I just really wanted to get those different black stripes because that's kind of how Colossus' arms appeared, but you really did need the muscle definition and then the stripes on top of that. It just, none of that happened. The proportions didn't happen. Again, I would say the only salvageable thing from this figure was definitely the head, it was a good try though. The paintwork I don't even think was that great, especially that dotted pattern on the lower torso. I think that kind of looks a little weird. The whole figure was really weird and definitely a miss, but again, the head was at least okay. Number 3, I said there would be a couple exceptions made to the rule of going no further back than 2014. This is one of them, Connor Kenway from Assassin's Creed 3. You're probably looking at this and thinking that figure is really not that bad. And listen, it was 6 years ago. And I mean, for 6 years ago, by my standards, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, it's simple, basic, not really that exciting, but not bad. So again, the torso, legs could have been worse. You might have already noticed the arrow quiver broke off a long time ago. I have no idea what happened to that. But the face is what ruins this figure for me every time I think about it, every time I see it in the archive case of figures that I have on a shelf. I just see this awful painted face staring back at me, and granted, it was 6 years ago and one of my earliest painted faces, but I mean, Connor Kenway was my entry point into the franchise back then, and so I just kind of always see this figure and I'm just like, oh my god, what a massive disservice to such a great character, or at least he is in my eyes. And so hopefully maybe at some point later down the road, maybe sometime next year, I'll have the chance to make a proper version of Connor, but this was not it, Chief. Is that meme dead? Yeah, it's probably dead. Yeah, the custom cast of the sculpted hood from my buddy Andrew Piskovitz, who unfortunately has since left the community several years ago, was probably the highlight of the figure. That and the Brick Arms Tomahawk that I eventually gave him. That's actually an overmolded piece as well, which I don't believe they sell as a retail product anymore, or if they ever did at all. Point is, this figure, even though really old, I still hate it, and I just wanted to include it in this video, and that's why he's all the way at the end here. Number 2, we're almost done, thank God. Going back to 2014 one more time for this stealth suit from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I tried so hard at the time to make this figure something more than it was, trying my hand at making my own painted Captain America head to be just like Legos, if not better, and it just wound up looking like some kind of primate. I don't even know what this was or how I could have even accepted that this was even feasibly showcaseable. That is now a word, by the way. I couldn't even tell you what happened to that head until just yesterday when I finally dug it out of a bin that's been under my desk, regrettably, for the last 4 years, and I think one of the pupils is missing. It's just a total wreck, and rightfully so, because it was a wreck when I first painted it all those years ago. Right now I've got him sporting the unmasked head, which looks nothing like Chris Evans, just one of my worst painted faces at the time. I seriously could not hate this figure more. I mean, honestly, even the paintwork on the torso, the legs, is all just pretty bad. I think the only salvageable thing that came of this figure was maybe the stealth shield. Okay, but even with that, you got the dark red handle still visible. It's not even painted. I mean, oh my God. Number 1, going further back in time, we have finally arrived at the Legend of Korra. These have to be the worst minifigures that I had ever made after finally graduating from Sharpie and moving on to paint. This just had to be it. This giant singular unit of awful ideas, awful paintwork, and just terrible execution. I don't know what I was thinking in 2012, 6 years ago, but The Legend of Korra Season 1 debuts. I'm buying every episode on iTunes. I couldn't watch it on Nickelodeon for some reason. The season is exciting. Amon is hunting down all of the benders with the Equalists, and it was just incredible. And Season 2 bored me to death, and I never watched Season 3, but the point is, look at these figures. Look at those faces. It's like it's gloss paint and just these cartoonish styled, I don't even know what I was trying to do here, but it didn't work. I mean, what is this? It's so bad. I mean, look at Asami and Aang. What is going on? I don't know what happened here. But when I was scrolling through all my work that I've done and I finally arrived at these, I was like, oh my God, that is it. How can I not remember those god-awful Korra figures? And dude, yeah. These have to be the worst figures that I have made in recent memory. Again, not counting the early days when I was a kid watching the Clone Wars. I'm counting everything that I did after, and these, along with Connor Kenway, had to be made the exceptions. I wanted number 1 to truly be something special in this video, and I think this is it. I mean, the paintwork on the torsos and legs this time aren't even that great. I don't know what these were, but they were horrible. I mean... Alright, I'm done. I gotta just put up on screen some of the best painted faces I've done. Just really quick. Here are a few. Just to clean your eyes. I mean, it's either this or bleach. So here we go. Just better painted faces. The future was bright. It's just we weren't there yet in 2012. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. Jeez.
Sorry you had to see that.
Okay, there we go. Thank God this video is over with and I can finally pack these figures away again because these definitely had to have been my worst efforts as a minifig customizer after graduating to painting many years ago. So let me know what you think though. If there are any minifigures that you think should have made it into this video but weren't here, drop those in the comments. I probably won't be reading the comments though, to be totally honest, because I'm sure there'll be a bunch of people from Instagram like hopping over here and being like, hey, all those figures that you love loved? Yeah, I hated them, and I'll just be like, great, that's awesome. Point is, I really still do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for sticking around, and if you did enjoy, you can drop a like if you care. Otherwise, I'll be over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook posting early previews of all my upcoming minifigures long before they make it to their showcase videos here on the channel, and even long before that, I do post regular progress photos over on my Patreon in real time as I continue to work on new minifigures. So if you want to consider supporting the channel, that is always an option too. And otherwise, the next showcase will be actually a series of clone troopers from AV Figures celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Clone Wars, along with Captain America and Red Skull from the first Avenger, Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. I finally just wrapped up the story. What an incredible experience. And eventually the advanced suit from Spider-Man PS4, followed by the Avengers from the first film, and it should all be pretty great. Oh, and the stealth suit from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So you look forward to all of that coming hopefully before the end of the year. Not really, probably not. I'm going to do my best to cram in as much as possible before the end of 2018. We'll see how it goes. So hopefully I'll see you there. But on that note, I'm going to go. Again, thanks for watching and looking at these awful figures. I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.